If you are in the midst of planning a trip to Costa Rica and are currently at the phase where you're considering whether you need to rent a car or not, this video is for you. And even if you've decided that you are not renting a car but are still trying to figure out the logistics of getting around this beautiful country, I am going to be diving into all the various modes of transportation. This is probably the most common question that I get in my DMs and in my comments here on YouTube is, do I need car insurance? Should I rent an ATV? What about golf carts? Do I need a 4x4? Like all of these questions. Can I take a bus to get from A to Z? Are there taxis? What are the costs? And honestly, these are all really important questions to consider when you're planning your trip to Costa Rica and when you're planning a trip anywhere, because transportation is key. And after 15 years of traveling to Costa Rica, it is safe to say that I have done it all. From backpacking on a shoestring to luxe stays and everything in between, I can honestly say that Costa Rica is one of my favorite countries in the world to travel to and to share my knowledge about. If you are new here, my name is Emma. I'm an ex-flight attendant turned digital entrepreneur, and I have been to over 40 countries. My goal is to be able to work remotely, work for myself, and see the world. I've been so lucky to be able to have traveled as extensively as I have. And one of my favorite things to do is to share those experiences and perspectives here on YouTube. My last video was all about the biggest mistake I've made as a small business owner. In today's video, it's back to travel, because those are two very big themes in my life. And so is wellness. So if any of those topics resonate with you, please consider subscribing to my channel and following me here on Instagram. I've also made several other videos about Costa Rica on my YouTube channel, including planning your ultimate trip guide to Costa Rica and Corcovado National Park, your complete guide to Guanacaste, Arenal. So if you are planning on visiting any of those spots, make sure you check those videos out too. And if you have topics of your own that you'd like me to dive into, make sure that you leave those in the comments. Okay, so let's get into how to get around Costa Rica without losing your mind and blowing your budget. Spoiler alert, there is no right one singular way to do this. It's all about what you as a traveler value: freedom, time, or money. So I'll invite you to take some self-reflection and think about your trip. Are you going for 1 week? Are you going for 1 month? Are you trying to cram in 5 different cities in 10 days? Or are you kind of just wanting to go with the flow? Because all of that is going to really dictate how desperately you're going to need a vehicle. And also, what's your realistic budget? Because renting a car in Costa Rica is not on the cheaper side of things. However, in my experience, I think it is so worth it to rent a car because of the type of place that Costa Rica is, right? Like, you wanna go ziplining, you wanna see monkeys, you wanna swim in the ocean, you wanna go snorkeling, you wanna see volcanoes. Like, if you're anything like me and you have this really big, ambitious list of things that you wanna do when you're in Costa Rica, and maybe you only have 1 week, maybe you only have 10 days, 2 weeks. It feels like a lot of time, but it really does fly by. And the last thing that you want to be doing is wasting it figuring out the logistics of buses, of local transportation, of having to be on someone else's schedule other than your own. So this is definitely something to take into consideration when we're talking about, should I rent a car or not? So let's first talk about, what type of traveler are you? Okay, so are you a traveling vagabond that has 4+ weeks to see as much as possible? Or are you a couple? Are you an elderly couple? Are you a family of 4? Like, who are you as a traveler and what are your needs? Because you're going all the way to Costa Rica, you want to enjoy yourself and make the most of this time, right? So if you're a solo vagabond and you kind of want to go at the beat of your own drum, you're maybe really trying to stretch your dollar and get in as much as possible, like, definitely look at the bus options, look at the public transportation options, look at the shuttle options. I've done that before and it is a little bit cheaper, but honestly not by much. And the biggest downside is that it takes a lot more time, because if you're taking a shuttle from like San Jose down to Jaco Beach or from Tamarindo down to Santa Teresa, it's not a one-way shot. You're gonna be making multiple stops along the way. So if what would have normally been a 3-hour direct drive probably is going to turn into something more like 6 hours. But if you have time to spend, time to waste, then it's a good option for you. I like taking shuttle buses because I find I end up meeting people on these buses, people who are going to the same place I'm going, people who are coming from the same place I'm leaving, and you end up making these like really beautiful connections that you otherwise may not have made. So as a solo traveler, I would actually almost even suggest that, because it's a great way to meet people. Now, if you are a couple, maybe you're traveling with your husband, your wife, your partner, your boyfriend, like I've done that many times, you want to maximize your time there. And because you're two people contributing to this budget, maybe it's a little bit more affordable to prioritize having a car and then maybe squeezing out a little bit more of those dollars at your Airbnb stays, your hostel stays, and stretching your budget a little bit further there. Because I feel like if you're a traveling couple, it does go a long way to have a car. It can literally save you days of transit. And if you only have like 1 to 10 days of vacation time, you definitely want to maximize every single one of those days. You can also go on like your own little side quests, like if you're driving from Jaco Beach to Manuel Antonio and you want to stop along the way at little fruit stands, at little shops, get a little coffee over here. You're a lot more easy to do that and sort of create your own adventures than you are if you were to be sitting in a shuttle bus, for example, that is going from point A to point B and you don't have any say over the little stops made along the way. So like definitely you can make the most out of having a car in so many different ways. I'm gonna say the same thing for like Generation X and older. Like if you are 40 plus and you're just like, I cannot be bothered to deal with the timetables, like rent a car. It's a no-brainer. It's not even a question. You are spending all of this time and effort and probably really precious vacation days to go down to Costa Rica. Make the most of it. Budget the amount that you need to rent a car. It honestly is just a no-brainer. Definitely do it. And then lastly, let's talk about families. Logistics and kids do not mix well, especially with multiple timetables. Just think about renting a car as being a sanity saver. And it's also just a place to like throw all your stuff in, store all of your bits, because if you're an adventurous family, chances are you're gonna have sandals, you're gonna have towels, you're gonna have snorkel gear, you're gonna have all this stuff, and having a car is just an extra place to kind of put some of that stuff. But hot tip, do not store anything of value in your car. I mean, it should go without saying, but Costa Rica is kind of well known as being, for sure, the safest country in Central America to visit, and honestly, probably one of the safest, most tourist-friendly countries on the planet. But it is known for petty theft, break-ins to cars, so be super mindful of that, to not leave any luggage unattended, any purses, bags, anything that could tempt somebody to make a bad decision. It does happen, it just happens. It happens all over the world, but just be a mindful traveler and don't leave valuables in your vehicle. But I also want to consider that you might be a nervous driver. Maybe you're concerned about the roads in Costa Rica. So let's talk about that next. For anybody who is concerned about what it's like to actually drive there. And honestly, okay, I will say I'm a confident driver, but truly it is such a breeze. Really, you can get around so simply for the most part. There are obviously parts of the country that are a little bit more hectic than others, like if you're going to really obscure areas, but if you plan on visiting any of the main cities, towns, and touristy areas, this country has planned for that. They are one of the most visited countries in the entire world. They're very used to receiving tourists. So their highways are beautifully paved. Their roads are very clear. There's not a whole lot of potholes and stuff going on the roads that makes it hard to navigate through. But one really big tip that I will share with you is to make sure that you download the app called Waze. Waze is kind of similar to Google Maps, to Apple Maps, but it works differently in Costa Rica. For whatever reason, that is the preferred app when you are in that country. I also even just like using it here in Canada because it will show me if there's a pothole ahead. It'll show me if there's police up ahead. It kind of alerts you of any sort of issues on the road. But the thing with Waze in Costa Rica is that it will show you paths that, again, for some reason, Google Maps doesn't have. So all of this to say, use Waze when you are managing your navigation system in Costa Rica. By the way, guys, since we're on the topic of driving in Costa Rica, I want to tell you about my favorite experience that I had when I was there last year. If you are renting a car in Costa Rica, you have to book this epic trip. and you absolutely need a car to get there. So if you're flying into San Jose, this waterfall is not too far away. Probably my all-time favorite experience in Costa Rica has got to be when I hiked to Quebrada Gata Falls. This waterfall is not very well known by tourists, but is considered to be one of the country's most spectacular waterfalls by the locals. It's called Quebrada Gata Falls. And there really is only one way to get there, and that's by booking a tour with Toro Amarillo 360. The tour operator's name is Ken, and he is the only person that you can trust with a safe experience to and from these epic falls. Not only does he have these waterfalls as one of his amazing experiences, but there are so many others. And this year, I'm definitely gonna be going back and trying a new one. You can find him on his Instagram platform here to book, and I will also leave his details in the description down below. Trust me, if you're going to Costa Rica and renting a car, you do not wanna miss out on this experience. It's definitely the most epic adventure I have ever been on in Costa Rica. So if you're looking for something super unique, off the beaten path, and extraordinary to experience, you have to check this out. But yeah, in general, the roads are simple, they're easy, they're chill. The first time that I rented a car there, I ended up renting a manual vehicle, which was so fun to drive, but guys, literally, it was like a crappy Toyota Corolla, and this was like 10 years ago. The roads were not as good as they are now. And I've gone every year for like the past 3 years. The roads have substantially increased. Like, they are so much better, because 10 years ago, driving around that little Toyota Corolla stick shift was a little bit of a ride, but even still, like, I was fine. It was an adventure, you know, it really felt like I was off-roading. So I would say that, yeah, there's lots of hills. Maybe if you're not the strongest manual shift driver, there are lots of automatic vehicles. Like, there's no question you'll be able to get an automatic vehicle. It's not like Europe where it's a lot harder to get an automatic car. But yeah, I will say, like, in the last 10 years, the roads have really improved. So you really shouldn't have any issue driving. Okay, now let's talk about transportation options and budget. Now, if you're looking at renting a car for a week, this is all going to be based on what time of year you're going. Are you going in high season, low season? When are you watching this video? I'm making it in 2025, so pricing could have changed by now. But on average, you're probably looking at about $750 US for 1 week of a car rental. Yeah, like, it's not cheap. But you know what? In my opinion, it's worth it. And sometimes you can find car rentals that are closer to 30 US a day. It all depends on where you're looking. Now, if you're wondering what type of vehicle you should rent, obviously an SUV is going to be your safest, but most people do tend to drive sedans in Costa Rica. So I don't think that it's absolutely necessary for you to rent an SUV, but a 4x4 is definitely going to be the best, especially if you're adventurous. If you are just planning on driving to a little beach town and driving up and down the coast between a few little beach towns on your 1 to 10 day long trip, like, a normal car is totally fine for you. The roads are good. But if you're wanting to go a little bit more off the beaten path, you're wanting to go into Arenal, going camping, going into the jungles, into the forests, maybe look at an SUV, and at the very least, a 4-wheel drive. You're also going to want to think about insurance, but I'm going to talk about that in the next chapter of this video, because car insurance is definitely mandatory. Okay, now let's talk ATVs and golf carts. You really can only rent an ATV and or golf cart if you're planning on staying in one particular region, because of course you cannot take an ATV or a golf cart on a full-blown frickin' highway. So if you're wanting to really see a lot of Costa Rica, like you really wanting to cover a large amount of land, get a normal car. Because you also can't really store bags and shoes and all these things in your golf cart or your ATV. I would say renting a golf cart or an ATV is good if you're staying in one single area for multiple days, because honestly, the price is almost the same. I believe when I rented an ATV last year, it cost me almost $60 US a day. But for me, it was slightly cheaper than a car rental, and I was spending 2 weeks in Nosara at Playa Guiones, a place that I totally recommend recommend if you're wanting like hippie vibes, amazing cafes, restaurants. Like Playa Guiones is amazing. And for the whole 2 weeks I was there, I just had an ATV, which I had rented locally in that town. And it was more than enough. I was able to drive like 30 minutes north, 30 minutes south, and explore the whole area of Nosara with total ease. And pretty much in every town you go to, there is going to be a company that is renting ATVs or golf carts. So you don't really have to plan that in advance, but it's not cheap. And maybe you could piece into your itinerary that you rent an ATV for 1 to 2 or 3 days. Like you don't need to have it for the entire time you are in a particular town. Most companies do rentals by the day. So if you have a few little towns that you want to visit, maybe you can do that all in 1 day or over the course of 2 days. And then you're just paying for the rental of an ATV instead of a full-blown car for the entirety of your trip. Golf carts are the same, and not every town is golf cart friendly. Like if you are in Tamarindo, if you are in Playa Conchal, Potrero, Las Catalinas, a lot of people do have golf carts in those areas. But again, golf carts only go like a max of 40 kilometers an hour, so you can't really take them all that far, but they're nice for puttering around town, picking up some groceries, little smoothies, going to the beach. Like they're really fun for that. So I would say rent a golf cart or an ATV if you're going to one spot and kind of just staying there and visiting little areas just nearby. The next option and budget is public transportation. This is anything from buses to shuttles. A single bus ride in San Jose, which will really only take you within that large city, is around $5. But in my experience with San Jose, you kind of want to get in and get out. It's just your landing hub, right? Because there's 2 main airports in Costa Rica, Liberia and the capital, San Jose. So you can't really rely on public transportation like buses to take you all around the country. It really is just for that one particular city. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but that's my knowledge on it. And it really shouldn't be a serious consideration if you're wanting to travel a lot through the country. But the other option that you can consider is shuttle buses. There are a few different shuttle bus companies. Just Google Costa Rica shuttle bus and one of a few different companies will come up. And they're definitely cheaper and they're great for slow travel. But the cons are that they're a longer ride, they're crowded, they're sometimes unpredictable, and you are a little bit more restricted to working on their time schedule. Also, if plans change or you miss your shuttle, you kind of lose out on that money. So that's, again, another just pro to having your own wheels when you're in Costa Rica, because things change. Maybe you pre-book your shuttle and you're leaving Monday morning and it's Sunday night and you just met this really awesome group of people and they're all going out on this boat tour tomorrow and you really wish you could have changed your shuttle. Sometimes you have that friction, you have that inability to change your plans. So having a car kind of gives you more flexibility and control over your experience. Okay, lastly, I'm going to talk about taxis and transfers. I have had this really generalized question of okay, what kind of budget should I plan for Costa Rica? How much does it cost? And it's such a broad question to answer. I'll start out with saying that Costa Rica is not cheap. When you think of Central America or even South America, you think, oh, I'm gonna really stretch my dollar and really do it. Costa Rica is not the country you wanna be going to if you're looking for cheap travels. It's not cheap. I remember last year going to a brewery in the Uvita area and spending close to $100 US for an appetizer, a soup, gazpacho, a non-alcoholic drink, and a main course, which was a salad. What? Really, really expensive, honestly. And that goes for taxis and transfers as well. But this is mostly because it's quite far to get to any of the main cities from the main airports in Costa Rica. Whether you're flying into Liberia and heading out to the coast, or going to Arenal, or you're flying into San Jose and heading down to the coast, you're looking at roughly a 1.5 to 2 hour drive to get there. So that's why these taxis cost a little bit more. They range anywhere from $100 to $150 per person one way. And you're not gonna land at the airport and just stay around the airport. Like I said, Liberia, there's nothing going on there. You wanna get to the coast or you wanna get inland to Adenal. Same with San Jose. It's a big city, but you kind of land there and you wanna get out of the city, right? Like you're not really going all the way to Costa Rica to just like hang out in the city of San Jose. So everything has a cost, right? Like you kind of want to think about, all right, do I want to just take a bus or take a shuttle or a taxi to one of these main larger cities along the coast, and then from there sort of take some shuttles, maybe rent an ATV and go from there. It all, again, really depends on your budget, depends on what you want to see, what you want to do. But I think if you're planning a trip to Costa Rica, I do think that you should prioritize budgeting for a vehicle, because even though it's not that big of a country, there is a lot to see. It will make such a difference in your overall travel experience having your own wheels. If it wasn't obvious, I definitely recommend renting a car. But I understand that's not in everyone's budget. Also, a lot of hostels in Costa Rica and hotels will arrange shuttles for you. Whether they're arranging it through a legitimate business or they have access to locals, which is very, very common, who are looking for work, looking for money. They can drive you from A to B. Like that's also an option. And the ticos and ticas, the locals of Costa Rica, are so friendly, so lovely. Like they really do accept tourists with open arms and are there to help you. So don't feel like once you get there, you need to have everything sorted. There is such thing as landing and figuring it out as you go. So I feel like that's just worth mentioning. Okay, now let's talk about travel insurance. Travel insurance, car insurance, all of the above. So car insurance in Costa Rica is mandatory. They make sure that you have it, whether it's through your credit card or you're purchasing it directly through the company, and with good reason. Guys, last year I got a flat tire with my car. The year before that, I think I got another flat tire. And this isn't to scare you, like we were sorted out and on our way so quickly, but I was like reminded and so glad each time that I had car insurance, because you just never know. And as much as I'm saying the roads are fine, it still is, you know, a country in Central America. There's potholes, there's nails on the road. Like this stuff just happens, and you want to make sure that you have car insurance. Some companies charge anywhere between $10 to $20 a day, so include that and factor that into your budget. But another thing that I will highly recommend is taking a look at your credit card. If you're anything like me, you probably have more than one. So take a look at your credit card insurance coverage to see if you have any coverage at all, because the number of times I've traveled with people who booked a car and paid for it on a credit card that didn't have any insurance. Meanwhile, they've got another Visa in their wallet that has like amazing travel insurance and you didn't even realize. It would blow you away. So you're paying for this credit card, chances are you're paying for it in some way, shape, or form. And a lot of them are fighting for your dollar. They're fighting for your business, and they're fighting for it by offering you these types of perks. So the travel insurance that I use, or the credit card that I use, is the Visa TD Privilege Card. It is amazing. I do pay like $600 a year for it, but it pays itself off. I get unbelievable access to VIP lounges in all of the airports. I have great travel insurance coverage. It's just an all-around amazing credit card for anyone who is an avid traveler. And I also have an Amex card, another great card for avid travelers. I've got a gold and my partner has the platinum card. And we tend to jump between the two of those whenever we're booking anything travel related, and we are always covered. But as I said, make sure that you are checking the details, because some credit cards will not cover you if you rent a pickup truck, for example, or if you don't rent a 4x4. A lot of these credit card companies have these really granular stipulations within their coverage details. So make sure that you're looking at that, because let's say it says all vehicles are covered except for pickup trucks, and you just so happen to rent a pickup truck, something happens, it gets stolen, it gets broken into, whatever can happen. Stuff happens, and then you're not covered because you didn't read that tiny stipulation. Believe me, I have heard horror stories. So make sure you check those fine details. You're just better safe than sorry. Okay, now let's talk about car rental companies, because this is one that's come up for me, is who should I rent a car from? And honestly, it doesn't really matter. Like in my experience, there is not really any best car rental companies. Like just do your shopping around. For whatever reason, I tend to find the best pricing on kayak.com. I'm not sponsored in any way, just I find the best prices there. But shop around, and if Enterprise has a better price than Alamo or Hertz has a better car options, that like just go with whoever is gonna give you the best price and the best car option. And chances are you're landing at one of the two main airports. These airports have these car rental companies based at the airport. So it really is the most convenient to rent your car from one of those two airports, and maybe you wanna drop it off in a different location, that's doable too. Sometimes car rental companies will charge a little bit of a premium or an extra fee if you're dropping off the car at a different location, which again, for me, it averages out as opposed to paying for a taxi from that location to that location. Like just pay the fee, it all averages out in my opinion. Some of the smaller towns do have car rental companies, but sometimes those smaller companies end up charging a little bit more because they don't have as much inventory. So if you know where you're going and you're kind of thinking, all right, well, maybe I'll just rent a car for a couple days mid-trip, like it is doable. I did that 2 years ago. I went to Costa Rica, spent 3 months there. I started in the very south and drove all the way up the coast to the north. And I rented a car, dropped it off at a location, stayed in one spot for 2 or 3 weeks. Then I rented a new car, drove to another spot, dropped it off, took the bus, and I used multiple forms of transportation. And just know that that is doable too. It just takes a little bit more planning. All right, I think I've covered everything. Again, if you're not sure, you've got a specific question, let me know in the comments down below, or you can send me a DM on Instagram here. Make sure that you are following me there. Check out my other videos that are about Costa Rica. I really dive into so many of the must-sees and do's in that country. So definitely make sure that you are checking those out and subscribing to my channel. And just remember that the way you travel is part of the story that you are writing. So make sure that you are choosing a mode of transportation that suits your vibe. And remember, it's not just about where you choose to go, but how you choose to move through it. Again, if you found this video helpful, I would so appreciate a thumbs up, a comment down below. Maybe let me know how you prefer to travel. Are you a planes, trains, automobile? Are you hitchhiking? Like, let me know. Because I honestly love hearing from other travelers like you. You guys are my people. I am so freaking here for it. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye.